welcome to another video. In this video, we're going to be discussing how to build our own table. And this is critical because how that table is built determines how much work you're going to have to do in the back end when you're trying to use an Excel file or in SQL. So depending on how that table is structured, you may have to do extra coding. So for example, in Excel, you're using the data, you're relying on the data from a table, it's exported to Excel. Instead of having one column, now you're going to have to create two to create a formula to compensate for how the data came out. Same thing with SQL. If the data is structured or set up a certain way, we'll use a date field. If that's stored, for example, as a number, you're going to have to create additional code to try to make that date field readable and appear readable to the user. So this is why I'm so excited today, because we get to understand where things actually start. There's a lot of memes going around about how people want a dashboard, but then the structure is not good. Well, part of that structure is the table. So I think this is exciting for us to be able to walk through those steps, see how it correlates to other programs. And so I've got some templates in here, and I've got a very simple and basic way for us to get started. But you may want to screenshot throughout the video, pause the video, screenshot so that you can see some of these templates and start using them. So let's go ahead and start creating our first table.
Okay, so we're going to start with what we're familiar with. And here you can see an Excel file right here. So you're already familiar with this shape. And it's an Excel sheet that basically just has rows. Here we've got rows, we've got columns, and we've got some headers here. So this is the first step. Now let's go to the second step. Okay, so now we're on to the second phase of this. So we've got the same Excel spreadsheet, but now we have SQL, same data, same concept, but it's going to be on a new platform. And so the only difference here is that the employee ID has assigned to it a type. So it's an integer versus a character. The first name is a varchar, or it's a character field. The age is an integer, which is a number field, and the city is a varchar, which is a character field. So this is what I mean by stricter rules. It has to be very specific once you start getting into coding language. Now let's start really coding on the next page. So now it's time for us to create our table. We're going to get started, right? We're going to create table. I'm going to call it my task, something that we can identify with. Okay. And I'm going to walk through what we're doing here in just a minute. Task number. Okay. Task name. All right, we got okay, task category. Well, so I'll explain what that is in just a second right here. You don't have to do upper and lower case. This is an integer. We want this to be a number because we want to number the task. This is a character. This is a character as well. Okay. So that's saying it's an invalid type. Let's see what's going on. Okay. All right. So we have the task duration. Oh, and by the way, SQL does not like spaces without brackets. And that's why I got that line. I got the duration, so we're going to say that that's an integer again because we want to see that as a number. You've got the task date, and that's simply going to be date. Task status, completed, pending, etc. varchar. We're going to say we only need 25 spaces for this. I need to make sure that I don't have this table already in here. So, okay, so we have actually created these values. Let's see what we run into. I click on that. It says command completed successfully. It shows up here. But let's go ahead and double check another way. Select star from my task. So we're actually going to go back to our familiar select statement. You learned this in one of my earlier videos if you were following along. And we have our column names here. So isn't that exciting? The The next thing we want to do is insert data into this table. Now, what you'll see often, textbook-wise, is something that looks like this. But there's a way to do this that is traditionally taught, but we're going to teach you the real world scenario here. So you have a paren. I'm going to go in the second row so that we can read it. See what we're looking at here. And right away, it's going to let me go ahead and do the task number and so forth. Okay, so try not to make the video too long. But the task category, the duration, the date. It's important we do this in the order that we now. So it's supposed to be status there. Okay, it's important that we do this in the order of the fields here. So this should sync up with this, okay? Now, very important, values. This next row. So the first statement involves an insert, right? And then we now need to do the values. You will appreciate the second way that I do this, but this is often taught as a way to do this. So right now I'm saying, hey, in the first row, this is what I want to see on this first row, right? So as you can see, I've set this up so we have, okay, we have the integer here. We have the characters right here, right? Another character field right here. So that means alphabets and numbers are mixed together. Integer, these are strictly number fields. This is a date field here, so that has to correspond to that, and then we've got another varchar field. So I'm just going to simply select this, and I've got to execute this. Oops, not create a new query, but just execute that. So I'm going to run that, and it shows me 2 rows have been affected. Let's just see. Look at my select statement and look at what we have here. We have our data filled in. I'm going to teach you the quicker way to do this. So our next step here is to actually now, if we've got more than a couple of rows of data, we're going to want to go ahead and find a better way to insert this data. So what I'm going to do is clear out these rows that we had in here so that I can show you that expression, and it's called delete from. There's no expression that says delete table. We don't want to do that, right? So let's go ahead. We always want to check the my task table. Oh, we've actually cleared it out. So let me show you a way that we can copy various rows of data instead of having to manually type that in. Can you see how we can make so much mistakes here and how much time that would take? So let me show you this way for demonstration purposes. There is another way to do that. We won't do that for today, but I'm going to show you how to do it here. This is our Excel file. We're going to go ahead and right click on this, select edit top 200 rows. I'm going to click that, right click on this, and I'm going to paste the values in here. Now, see what I did? We don't need to duplicate the titles. So I'm just going to simply select that, nothing to be afraid of. Just delete one of the rows here. You got to select it, and it'll ask you, okay, so now let's go back to our query and see what we have. From the right sheet there. Okay, so we have our data. The next statement that we're going to want to do is you want to play with it a little bit. Maybe this is not, we got different cleaning categories. Maybe I want to change something in here, like how it says cleaning here. I'm going to demonstrate how we can update this table. Update my task, set task category, and this is going to make sense in a minute. General cleaning, where task category equals cleaning. So what have I done here? I am saying here I want to change this where it says under task category cleaning, I want it to say general cleaning. I had to select that, and we're going to check this. Notice how I keep, instead of having to retype it, if I wanted to see this again, select star from my task. Database recognizes this, and I'm going to see if it actually changed that for me. See how we have general cleaning now instead of just cleaning? So what have we done so far? We have created our table. We have inserted values into the table in a manual way, and then we found a more efficient way to do that by actually going into the table and directly copying it from Excel. And then we've actually updated values in here. So isn't that interesting? Well, follow me for more. I'll be continuing our lessons on Excel to SQL in future videos.